Elden Ring is my favorite game ever made, and its boss roster is one of gaming's best of all time, without question. In this video, I'm ranking each boss worst to best in tiers from D to S. This is not an objective ranking. These are just my opinions as a passionate fan of From Software games. So let's get started. Our only D tier boss is the Regal Ancestor Spirit. Some people in the community around this game hate that From Software reused a lot of bosses. I don't think that's a realistic complaint for many bosses in the open world and the dungeons. They were never going to have this big a game with this many bosses and all of them come complete with their own moveset. However, this one is a remembrance boss and these are supposed to be the main ones, so I think it's a pretty unforgivable thing that they did that with this one. I'm placing him dead last on principle. Kicking off the C tier is Commander Gaius, and he is not a good boss to me. I've ranked these bosses before in an older video, and by the way, it's terrible, don't go watch it. But I got cooked in the comments by the challenge running community for saying that this is a trash boss. One comment that stuck with me said Commander Gaius is a good litmus test to see if you are actually good at the game. If you don't like him, you're probably bad at it. I would be curious what you guys think of that because there may be some truth to it, but for a mediocre player like me who's making this list, his charge attack can be incredibly inconsistent to dodge, and outside of that charge attack, I don't find anything interesting enough here presentation-wise to place him any higher than 25. Meteor Mother of Fingers, on the other hand, is universally disliked, and for good reason. Fighting her melee attacks are boring, but then she has a bunch of magic fuckery that is insanely annoying to avoid and can't be punished. So we have mostly straightforward but boring combat interrupted by crazy magic beams and AoEs with doom. There are a lot of amazing lore reveals around her and the questline leading up to her, but for me, she's a bad boss. There's only a few more C tier bosses left, so let's bang them out so I can glaze this game like it deserves. Estelle, Natural Born of the Void, is a boss I fight with such weird flow. Every time I feel like I'm in a good rhythm, he just teleports away, and I hate that. His pulsing shockwave attack also drives me insane, and his grab with his pincers after he teleports can be straight up unreactable. I'm getting a bit older, so who knows, maybe that's the reason, but I've never been high on Estelle. I've also never been high on Godric. Godric is a boss everyone and their mother calls underrated, but everyone is also wrong because he's not. I just don't see it. The only thing that stands out as memorable to me is when he grafts the dragon onto himself in the cutscene. Other than that, you just dodge his axe swings, you run away from his flamethrower attack. I've just never been a fan of Godric, and I never will at this rate. Margit was the real final boss of Limgrave, let's all be real here. Lich Dragon Fartisax is the final boss of the Fia questline and the final C tier boss. It's a boring ancient dragon fight when you look at it from pure gameplay, and even if I'm a sucker for amazing visuals and a great OST, Lich Dragon Fartisax just doesn't have enough going on here. It's just another ancient dragon fight with claw swipes and fire breaths. Yes, he does have a few special attacks with his Death of Lightning, but half the time he goes down before I ever even see it because of his low health pool for where you find him in the game. It's not very well balanced in that sense. Fartisax is the boss I fought the least out of all the ones on here because of the work that goes into Fia's questline. The payoff, which does include this boss fight, is never worth it to me, so I have fought him the least, but he's going to wrap with the C tier here. So those were definitely some quick hitters at the bottom. Honestly guys, I try not to waste time ranting about the bad bosses in Elden Ring because of how much I love this game. Let's start the B tier where going forward every boss is at least good. Renal, the Queen of the Full Moon, is extremely easy, but everything here just looks beautiful and the OST is great. The lack of difficulty is a little sad because this is a shard bearer holding a great rune, but it is the early game here after all. I had a hard time placing her is what I'm saying, but I decided right here makes sense. Great presentation but laughable difficulty and just okay gameplay. Don't stun lock her into oblivion and you get a great looking boss for a minute or so, but that's about it. Overall, I'd rather have Renala, Queen of the Full Moon in Elden Ring than not have her in the game at all, which is the mark of a B tier boss. Similarly, Romina, Stain of the Bud is another strange one because of her difficulty. I almost never care about difficulty. An easy boss can be a great boss as long as it's fun or looks great, and a hard boss I value how fair it is over the actual difficulty is how I'd usually explain it. But these two are a little different, and with Romina, it's because she's guarding the final area of the game, NR Limb. The boss guarding the final area of a From Software DLC should leave me beaten, bruised, degraded, emasculated, but Romina is one of the easiest bosses in the game. It's a rare time where the lack of difficulty is a problem, and that pains me because outside of that, there's so much to love here. Romina's design is fantastic. The hot centipede baddies From Software at their best. I love dodging a glaive up close, and the centipede charges from its bites from far away. And most of all is the Scarlet Butterfly explosion that is as beautiful to look at as it is deadly. But it's over too soon. All of this just ends quickly. I'm going to place Romina much lower than she could have been if she was just balanced a little bit more differently. It's definitely a shame. From one creepy design to another. Leave it to the sick fucks at From Software to make his sunflower look so evil and twisted. I've heard some horror stories about people getting stuck on the Avatar, but personally, I don't think he's as hard as most of the other bosses in the DLC. I mostly love this boss for the impressive visuals and the arena. Such a unique design, I seriously can't say enough how much I like it. My main criticism is the fact that he has 3 phases. It makes me pretty annoyed. I feel like they had a checklist for things they wanted to do in the DLC, and one of them was to have a 3-phase boss. And instead of giving it to us with something like Mesmer or Radon, they gave it to this fuck-ass flower that comes with no cutscenes or any of that. It's just a store-brand version of Sister Freed. Still, I do like him. There's more to bosses than a good moveset, but for the Putrescent Knight, that's about all he has. The Putrescent Knight was a boss that got a lot of hate when Shadow of the Erdtree dropped, but I've come to love his varied moveset. He has a lot of different attacks, but my favorite one is the one where you dodge through him and then through the horse. I also adore the Putrescent Ring that comes inwards towards you that you have to jump over. I can see why people didn't like him on release, but well over a year later, I think he aged great. His huge amount of attacks make him very replayable. However, I don't think there's any signature moments that really raise him any higher than the B tier. Presentation-wise, he's very mediocre, and he doesn't have any lore to speak of. So all the extracurriculars that go into a boss, he doesn't really excel at, but the moveset itself is great and good fun to fight against. He's good. Next, we have the most misunderstood boss in Souls history, and that is the Fire Giant, because I love this boss. There's 2 main points of contention here. The first is that he constantly rolls away, and yes, that one can be extremely annoying. No arguments from me there. But the second is that his health bar is way too big, and here I don't agree at all. His attacks have obvious tells, so it's hard to actually get hit by him, which balances that out. So I never really have an issue with this fight being so long when it's hard to get hit and the gameplay is good. And for me, I really do like his gameplay. The boss uses Torrent beautifully. I don't think any boss does it better. Essentially with the Fire Giant, you want to ride towards him, get off horseback, and then get some hits in with melee so you do your full damage, and then get on horseback when you see fire AoEs coming from the ground to evade and get out of trouble. I get I'm higher on him than most people, but he definitely gets too much hate. But what about the opposite, a boss that I've never seen the hype on and have always pretty strongly disliked? Well, I've come around on him a lot, but next up is Mohg, Lord of Blood. The first time I ranked Mohg in a video, I had him in the 20s. That was a bit extreme and harsh of me because he's not that bad, but I do want to remind you that this is my list. I make the rules. Objective rankings are boring and lifeless. They don't mean anything. If you want to watch someone else's list to validate your own opinions, I think that's pretty cringe. I'm just sharing my experience with the game with you. Anyway, why does Mohg rank lower than most people's lists? I hate the Blood Flame, and I hate it because I'm bad at fighting it. It's a skill issue on my end, and I'm not the best at this game. I'm not the best player, but I am a passionate one. But yeah, I just hate the pools of Blood Flame being everywhere and backing up and walking into them and such. Overall, it's a very good boss and I always enjoyed doing it, but it's just not one of my favorites like it is for most people. That's all. That'll do it for the B tier, and we still have 14 bosses to go. Elden Ring just has so many great bosses at the top, so let's begin the A tier where I consider all of these going forward great bosses. The Dancing Lion is a fantastic introduction to the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Hey, have you heard this one? The camera is the real final boss of Elden Ring. Bet you never heard that super original joke. But yeah, it's not as bad as people say. The Dancing Lion cycles between an earth form, lightning form, wind form, and ice form. The fact he can cycle through all of these means that no 2 Dancing Lion fights are ever exactly the same. It makes them insanely fun on replays, and on higher New Game Plus cycles, he's one of the more challenging fights easily. But as for negatives, I fought this dude countless times, and despite that, I never quite get his attack tells down. I'm mostly reading and reacting because a lot of his attacks just don't have any kind of tell at all, it feels like. It can be a bit frustrating, but overall, he's an awesome introduction to the DLC. He has a banger OST, is very fun to replay, and never gets old to fight, bringing him to number 14. Rykard is so disgusting. From Software knocked the Lord of Blasphemy's design and lore out of the park. He is just evil personified. The voice actor combined with the face on the snake's skin is vomit-inducing, and the spectacle of the fire in the arena is all amazing. Now as for actual gameplay and how it plays, it's as good as you can expect from a gimmick boss. The combat takes a backseat to the visuals and the total experience here. So yeah, you just have to spam one ranged attack from the Serpent Hunter while avoiding his own attacks, and it's easy. This is the kind of fight it's going for, and I do love him for that. As for cinematic bosses, Dragon Lord Placidusax is cinematic as hell. He was the king of all dragons too. It's easy to see why. He is enormous, and when he unfurls and roars, he just radiates power and aura. The boss is pure cinema, and his attacks are amazing looking. My favorite is his lightning spear plunge. I just love how they cut the music out for a second here. It makes this attack feel even more dangerous than it already is. And how about when he goes into the air and disappears while you frantically look around to prepare for his dime bomb at you? It's incredible. This shoot comes in between all these attacks. It's not the most exciting with some claw swipes, dragon breath, and lightning attacks, but it's nothing crazy. If you couldn't tell, I really value presentation and feeling of a fight over in-depth mechanics. So while his moveset as a whole can be underwhelming, the cool moments here are more than enough to rank him very highly. Most games he'd be a top tier boss, but almost all of the rest of these bosses have all of that to go along with good movesets. Vidra, the Lord of Frenzied Flame, has a great build-up. Torrent, your loyal bro who has been through everything with you, refuses to be summoned in the area leading up to him. It made the whole encounter feel even scarier, almost horror movie-esque. Midra is a straightforward duel, and I appreciate this about him. It's way more obvious when it's your turn to attack versus when it's his, as opposed to many other late game and DLC bosses. There's no insane gimmicks either. Even the Frenzied Flame build-up isn't horrible because when you get it built up, that's on you for getting hit. It's not anything too outrageous. It's a good fight, nothing really too crazy going on here. Star Scourge Radahn is next. This is an unforgettable boss. If you saw the first time I made an Elden Ring list, I went a bit heavy on lore and didn't really show much personality. That's why I'm remaking this, because I think lore can be its own content at some point. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is lore does play a part here, and with Radahn, it's impossible to separate it from the boss fight. Radahn was known as the most powerful of all the demigods. All the characters attending his standoff at the Festival of War know it. You can feel how nervous yet excited they are to see the red line in the flesh. The whole festival and build-up feels like the video game version of the pregame before the Super Bowl. And the fight itself is spectacular whether you summon allies or not. Riding Torrent towards him while avoiding his arrows is such an iconic intro to a boss, and he fights like a man possessed. But just when you think you're getting the upper hand, he launches himself into the sky and comes down on a fireball. It's just fucking unreal. And finding out at the end he was holding the stars back, what a legend. On our first playthrough, Star Scourge Radahn might be the most unforgettable boss in the game, but I do value replays a ton here, and he's just too early in the game for him to be a crazy challenge. And the shock of him coming down as a fireball can only really blow you away once. But that first fight was something I'll never forget, and he's always worth a visit every playthrough. I'm also just a Radahn fanboy, and I will not apologize for it. He's sensational. Morgott the Omen King is a generational hater. All of his lines insulting you are cold as hell. He even calls you a dumbass with his dying breath. Amazing work by his voice actor here for sure. His lore is amazing, and he's one of the truly noble people in this world, despite his angry mannerisms and appearance. Morgott has the best moveset in the game, bar none. He just has so many attacks, and they all feel amazing to go against, all while the fight is played at a breakneck speed. The issue is obvious, and we all know what it is though. The health pool. His health is just so small. I can't wrap my head around what they were thinking here. Morgott the character and Morgott the boss deserve better than this because, man, I just want this fight to last longer every single time I do it. If your main problem with the boss is it doesn't last long enough though, you do have a great boss on your hands. So even with his issues, the generational hater comes in here on the list. You've slayed demigod after demigod, and now here you are, face to face with a god. Can you do the unthinkable? Finishing up the A tier is Radagon of the Golden Order and the Elden Beast. Phase 1, you go toe-to-toe with Radagon, who attacks you with hammer swings up close and a holy magic from far away. The holy attacks can be a bit tough to avoid, but this is as good as a melee duel gets. Dodging his swings are so insanely satisfying, and between that opening cutscene and the visuals of all his attacks, they really nailed the feeling that you are trying to kill a god who should be more powerful than you can even imagine. Bring him down and you'll see one of the most beautiful cutscenes of all time. The way the Elden Beast towers over you as the music crescendos gives me goosebumps to this day. This half of the fight used to be miserable, but hidden deep in the patch notes for Shadow of the Erdtree was that Torrent was made available during the fight. And it's such a seamless fit that you have to wonder why this wasn't a patch years ago, shortly after the game came out initially. And lore-wise, it makes perfect sense. Torrent chose you and went through everything with you. He deserves this just as much as our Tarnished does. In 2026, the Elden Beast is more of a spectacle fight than the grueling endurance one like he was before. His attacks were never that hard to avoid, I just always run out of healing with how long it is combined with Radagon together. And Torrent fixed that. Radagon and Elden Beast are now the final challenge that Elden Ring always deserved. And now we are beginning the S tier. These are the best bosses in the genre and some of the most iconic fights across the Souls-like genre. Before we continue, I'd like to ask if you've enjoyed the video to please consider liking it and subscribe for my future content, but let's get into the S tier. Relna Twin Moon Knight is practically flawless. The reasons I love Relna mostly are her moveset, and also her moveset. It's seriously perfect. I love the feeling of going back and forth with her in melee range. Okay, it may be a lot of backing that back and forth, but the reason it works is because you can actually back off here and take a second to heal or catch your breath. It feels like a lot of the DLC bosses can fly across the arena to kill you, but the fact that Relna only gets some magic attacks feels a lot more fair, instead of her lunging across the arena at you or just shooting you down with some magic AoE laser beam of death. Her lighting her swords up with fire and magic is extremely cool, but the fight plays mostly the same. She just hits way harder now. But that's all the fight really has as far as presentation. Yeah, Souls fans do repeat the same tired takes a lot, but they got this one right. This boss needed some kind of cutscene, and I don't get why they didn't give her one. If this was pure gameplay, she might be number 2. More on number 1 soon, but I really value the look and feeling of a fight. Maybe too much so, but like I said, this is my list and my experience. But in terms of pure gameplay, there's just nothing in Elden Ring quite like crossing blades with Relna, so she comes in at the S tier, starting us off at number 7. Godfrey was the first Elden Lord, a conqueror for the Golden Order. He never lost a single battle doing this, and the lion on his back is suppressing his rage. It takes a true Chad to have a lion as an emotional support animal. Phase 1 is the straightforward duel against Godfrey using his giant-ass axe. It hits hard, but everything has an obvious tell, and there's no real gimmicks here. It's just 2 legendary warriors fighting for the right to become Elden Lord at the Elden Throne outside of the Erdtree. Seriously, if you're not reading the lore, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. It's fucking awesome. Phase 2, he shows his true form as Horlu, and the fight just changes completely. Whereas Phase 1, he fights you cool and calculated at a bit of a slower pace, here he's chasing you around the arena like a lunatic, and it makes you feel like you're his prey and he's the predator. It's awesome. I love how different each phase is and how it ties directly into his lore. It's so good, man, and that's why he's gonna rank here. But if you like breakneck speeds in your fight, next is Malekith the Black Blade. Phase 1 against Garang the Beast Clergyman is a pretty easy warm-up. I never had much trouble with it, honestly. But that Phase 2 transition is the best cutscene in the game. It gives you this whole feeling of you really messed up. This is a being from another era, he's been here before you, and he's stronger than anything you fought yet. Get ready. And it should give you that feeling. Malekith is even more powerful than the demigods we've been fighting. They're even scared shitless of him, giving him the nickname the Death of the Demigods, which is metal as hell. Fits his design too, which is also pretty edgy. But this phase is the real fight. This is where Malekith is going to fly around the arena firing deaths and death beams at you and attacking with his sword. The whole thing looks incredible and plays just as good. It may seem in the beginning that you never get a chance to attack, but after you figure out when those openings are, it becomes way more fair than you initially thought. A lot of people call Malekith a glass cannon, and while I do see the argument because his health pool isn't very large, those openings are just so few and far in between that I think it evens out just right. I think this was one of the most mind-blowing bosses in the game because he wasn't in any promotional material for the game like Radahn or Malenia, so seeing all of this for the first time, it was just mind-blowing. I always get nostalgic when I fight Malekith for that reason. He's going to come in at number 5, but he could have been even higher. But now we have Baal. Baal the Dread is the best dragon in the series now, ahead of Placidusax. But what about Midir? If you think any Dark Souls 3 boss can even come close to what these bosses are doing nowadays, you might be sundowning. It's time to go to the retirement home. Baal does follow the groundwork Midir laid out with the focus of hitting the head. It still blows my mind it took From Software so long to figure that out. It just fixes all the issues we have with fighting these big enemies and dragons that have their heads down low. It's not rocket appliances and we get to see everything too. I don't get it. But you may have noticed I really value presentation, and that's what places Baal just so high here. I have issues with the fight going on so long and some of the hitboxes on his breath attacks, but none of that matters when you get stuff like this. This just made me think about how far gaming has come since I was button mashing on a Nintendo 64. The only reason he isn't number 1 is because of how great these following 3 bosses just managed to be. And at number 3, we have Promised Consort Radahn, who I consider to be the hardest fight in the game. And I want to be very clear that this is post-nerf. I do respect From Software going all out on its difficulty when Shadow of the Erdtree first released, but it's still the hardest boss even after being nerfed into oblivion, which goes to show how truly absurd this was at launch. I already gushed about how I'm a Radahn fanboy earlier, but fighting him in his prime is a dream come true for me. The lore nerd in me loves seeing him fight what is similar to what would have been his prime. And the fight is just fun as hell, man. I swear, even now doing it, if I'm not completely focused and my mind just for a second, I'm dead. All of his attacks coming with holy aftershocks mean you have to be precise with your dodges and positioning, because if you're not, the holy attacks can stun you and force you into a cycle of pain and torment where you try and look for openings to heal and get your bearings again, but you're likely dead. I like that him flying around combined with his aggression makes it so people can't just mimic Tyr or Ash their way to victory. Sue me, but I think getting good counts for something. and I'm glad the final boss of Elden Ring made you do that, and you can't just get away with rivers of blood or whatever cheese strats people are doing in 2026. Radahn is crazy hard, and he will finish the S tier. At long last, we have come to the final two bosses in Elden Ring. These two bosses are in their own tier of S+, alongside some of the greatest bosses in gaming. These are the kind of fights that transcend Souls-likes.
I am Malenia, Blade of Miquella. And I have never known defeat.
As soon as Elden Ring released, Malenia became legendary for her difficulty. Players were immediately crowning her the hardest Souls boss to date, and the hype was completely justified. She has insane reach and blistering speed with her katana, lifesteal on every single hit, and the most bullshit attack From Software had ever made. The waterfowl dance is outrageous. There is just no other way around it. Most of your deaths are going to come from this attack alone. Ever since this game came out, I've been trashing it as a nonsense attack, and I was a Malenia hater for years. I learned how to dodge waterfowl, but doing it was just brutal. My complaint has always been it's simply just too much to ask the average player to learn how to survive this attack. But I was stopped in my tracks by what someone in my Discord said to me. Malenia is not a boss that is meant for the average player. That reframing of this boss changed how I looked at her in every way, because she's optional for a reason. This is not for the faint of heart, and a challenge is a big reason why I like these games anyway. And outside of Waterfowl, Malenia is just pure fun. All the rest of her attacks have obvious tells. She's fast, but not too fast where it's too much, and it's balanced out by her low poise where you can stun lock her. The lifesteal is tough, for sure. I ain't gonna argue about that. But mechanically, it's nearly flawless besides one intentionally ridiculous attack. Visually, the Goddess of Rot phase transition is just gross and beautiful at the same time. Phase 2 plays most of the same. There's a few new moves in her arsenal, but nothing crazy. Malenia was all around the marketing for Elden Ring because From Software knew they had something special. She is one of gaming's greatest bosses ever and tops every main boss in Elden Ring. But of course, we have one more to go. Messmer was once the spearhead of a brutal crusade in the Shadowlands, committing genocide and atrocities out of unwavering loyalty to his mother, Queen Marika of the Golden Order. It's only in his last moments he dares to curse her. His story and lore is fantastic, and the boss fight is even better. I got some flack for not ranking Ishin #1 in my Sekiro ranking, or Gale #1 in my Dark Souls 3 ranking. I'm just going by my own opinions like I've said, and my opinion here is very simple. This discussion is not about where Messmer the Impaler ranks in Elden Ring or From Software bosses. It's about where he ranks among the greatest bosses in gaming history. Visually, it's all stunning like I said with Bale, the moveset is perfection like it is with Rellana, and the lore is every bit as good as Radahn's or Malenia's. This boss has everything. Phase 1, you fight him with a spear in hand with a fight that's back and forth. It's so natural feeling. The flow is just immaculate here. It's a dance between two warriors, but Phase 2 is when all hell breaks loose and I find myself white-knuckling my controller as he sends his snakes at you from what feels like every direction. And on top of all of that, they added the gut punch of him finally cursing his mother, Queen Marika, with his last words. Messmer is sensational. Everything comes together here for one perfect boss fight. He is a boss that will be talked about and remembered for years to come, and From Software's best boss to date, setting the standard for what comes next. I keep hearing that From Software took the Souls formula as far as it can go, but the last single-player game they made Messmer and some of the best bosses on this list in the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. It's crazy to say a Souls game could outdo Elden Ring, but I think if anyone can, it's going to be From Software innovating or just one-upping themselves like they did with the bosses in this DLC. But I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.